Josh George, football guy. So it's Football Guy's channel. Breaking down the Mountain West. Restructured, by the way. They're going to be 12 teams, one title. Top 2 entered, no divisions. So, let's start off with Air Force. I've just got this alphabetically. Air Force is the team that I think will be a team that if you don't know about, you will by the end of the year. They'll probably finish in the top 25, which I'll put out a top 25 video here eventually when I get through all these conference breakdowns. But they were number 1 in rushing offense last season. And of course, they had the best third down offense and the third best third down defense, as they held 2 teams last season, Baylor and San Diego State, to 0 for 21 on third down, and that ended up giving them a top 25 defense. So Air Force has a good defense and a good offense, and 247 has them 4th in the Mount West Conference as far as talent goes. But Troy Calhoun has put an emphasis on focus, and he's talked to the media a lot about it. I have the Falcons 11-1 and 7-1 in conference play. I have them their lone loss being to on the road at the end of the year to Boise State, which will make for a weird shakeup down the road. I'll have to explain how I get to my conference title later. Okay, to the team that I have beating Air Force. The Boise State Broncos returned 45% of their production from last season, so that's pretty good. And they had a really good 2-deep rotation on both lines. So they're going to be probably one of the most, it's really between them and Air Force for who's going to be the most physical team up front in the Mount West Conference. They held teams to 19 points per game, which was tied for the best in conference, tied with Fresno State. And, of course, their defense was the second best defense in the conference, and Spencer Danielson said that we just need more turnovers, as they didn't create all that many. They only ended the year at +2 in that turnover margin. I think that will improve. I think this team gets to 9-3 and 7-1. I have their losses starting the year with Washington and Central Florida. 2 losses, 2 probably decently close games. Then I have them losing at San Diego State. Now, to Colorado State. Colorado State is an interesting team this year. Quarterback Clayton Millen is supposed to be really good and probably will wind up being all conference. Him alongside Troy Horton and tight end Dallas Holker. Look, that's 2 really good stars there on offense. So the offense is going to be really good. And Jay Norvell, who was only 3-9 last year, he came over here to Colorado State to rebuild the program, and the process is underway. The offense is going to be able to move the ball and be decent. But the defense is a work in progress, according to Coach Banks. So because of that, lots of scoring, but defense ultimately wins your big games. I have them at 5-7 and 4-4. I have those losses to Washington State, Colorado, Middle Tennessee. Tough start, and it just can get in your head when you start bad. Then I have them losing to Boise State, Air Force, San Diego State, and Hawai'i. So a team that is right on the cusp of really being a contender in the Mount West, in my opinion. But 5-7 and 4-4 for this year. So Fresno State. Fresno State won the Mountain West last season. In order to repeat, they will need to figure out the quarterback. I don't know if Logan Fife is going to be a good enough fit, just off the top of my head. But they have 7 starters back on defense, and a defense that was one of the best of the conference. Solid and extremely consistent. Really got after the quarterback well. Forced a lot of hurries, got a lot of sacks, things like that. And they ended up +4 in the turnover margin, so a little bit better than Boise State, and that kind of made a difference in some of those close, eerie games. And, of course, they're on the 3rd longest win streak in college football right now at 9 games. So they ended the year really on a high note. So it's just, are they going to be able to maintain that consistency? And that schedule, I feel like, is somewhat difficult. I have them made 4-5-3. I have them losing to Purdue to start the year. I have them losing at Wyoming, losing to Boise State, and at the end of the year at San Diego State. Hawaii, the 5-0 Friday squad being turned around by Coach Timmy Chang. A guy that a lot of people said, hey, you watch this 2 or 3 years and they'll be in the Mountain West Championship. Phil Steele was saying that last year. And, of course, Athlon Sports has them as a team to watch. And they've been highlighted on various SG1 things. So Hawaii is going to, I just feel like they're going to be decent, even though they were a 3-win team last season and lost 3 of their captains to the portal. I have them 6-7 and 3-5. And my biggest question is, are they able to really get through all their games without getting in a big rut? So I have them losing to Vanderbilt, Oregon, UNLV, San Diego State, Nevada, Air Force, and Wyoming. Now to the Nevada Wolfpack. The Wolfpack is another one of those teams that it's hard to tell where they're trending. Nevada has been unable to run the ball the last 2 seasons. They're only averaging 3.15 yards per carry. Ken Wilson has been said to be a good coach, but he was just 2-10 in his first season. And they're slated to have one of their worst passing offenses since 1992. And they lost their top 2 players on defense last season to the transfer portal, and they only returned 6 starters in total on defense. And it just is one of those things that if you don't have the depth, and of course they only won their first 2 games, and then they are on one of those long losing streaks. So they're on the other side of things. I think they improved some. I have them at 5-7 and 3-5 in conference play. I have them losing to USC, Kansas, Fresno State, San Diego State, Utah State, Colorado State, and Wyoming. To the Lobos. Look, I think the Lobos are going to be a team that just you can't get worse. That's what Lindsay's Magazine has said 2 years in a row, and they had 2 wins last season. I think they hit that mark again this season. They only have 2 guys back on defense, and of course, Danny Gonzalez is 7-24. So it's just hard to put a finger on this team. But those 2 wins, I have them beating Tennessee Tech. That's the 2nd game of the season there. And I have them finding a way to win against UMass. So there you go. And they'll probably wind up back in the bottom 10. But of course, they could win a couple of other games in there somewhere and maybe improve to 4-8 or 5-7. I mean, they're really not that far away. They just got to pull some guys in from the portal to replace some of that depth. Okay, San Diego State. Speaking of the portal, they had the best portal class in the Mount West. So San Diego State is a team, and of course a team that's talking about being a good fit for the Pac-12. Brady Hoke says he has a lot to prove, and he looks forward to being a Power 5 head coach once again. And he's just a guy that when I was analyzing things, I feel like betting on. And of course, he's got his quarterback back in Jalen Maiden. And so I felt like San Diego State was going to end up doing really good. So I have them at 10-2 and 7-1 in conference play. Those two losses, I have them losing at Air Force and at Oregon State. So, San Jose State. San Jose is going to be a team that's a little bit down this year. They're one of those teams that only have 4 starters back on defense. The portal hit them really hard, and they were a defense that was really good. They ended up plus 11 in turnovers, getting about a turnover a game, holding teams to 22 points per game. But when you take away one of the best elements of a really good team, a team that went to the famous Idaho Potato Bowl last season, so it just can really be detrimental. So because of that, and I think their best offensive weapon is going to be Alex Warrior, their punter. It's kind of a scheme for disaster. 4-8, 3-5, and of course, those 4 wins: Cal Poly, New Mexico, Utah State, and UNLV. Speaking of UNLV, look, UNLV is a team that I think I lowballed a little bit, I'll be honest, but they're just a hard team to put a finger on. They do have half of their lineup back on offense and defense, and of course, Barry Odom is 25 and 25 as a head coach. So you feel like at some point the dam will break, they'll get to a bowl game, but they haven't been to a bowl game since 2013, and it was the Heart of Dallas Bowl. I have them at 3-9 and 2-6. Those 3 wins, I think they'll beat Bryant at the beginning of the year. I think they'll find a way to beat Hawaii and at New Mexico. Utah State. Utah State is a team that is one of those that's trending in the wrong direction. Ever since 2016, when they peaked and they had one of the best offenses and defenses in the league, maybe even the best in both categories, and they were dominant and things like that. But their pass game is going in the wrong direction, and they'll have 7 total starters back. So it's just one of those teams that can keep things going and can take care of the football. They ended -9 in turnover margin. I have them 4-8 and 2-6, and I just I have them winning against Idaho, James Madison, Nevada, and New Mexico. Wyoming, a team that had Josh Allen, and yet quarterback numbers have not reached that level. They were 124th passing game in the nation last year, so they're just not up to snuff. But 9 starters back on defense, and Craig Broyle, a head coach that's going to win a lot of those close games, did really good at North Dakota State, found ways to build programs. So I think they score more than 21 points per game this year. I think the defense lowers that number of 23 points per game allowed. You know, and because they have a really good defense and a decent offense, they'll end up around 500. I have them 7-5 and 5-3. And I have them losing to Texas Tech, Texas, Air Force, Boise State, and Colorado State. And then they're on a little 3-game win streak. Okay, So, conference championship. Here's how we get here. So, you have a three-way tie between Boise State, Air Force, and San Diego State. Then you take the best records in the non-con. Well, Boise State had the worst, so you just kind of throw them out, and then Air Force and San Diego State had the next best. I think with defense and run game, and I think with the eyes of the nation kind of on this Air Force team, if you can be a one-loss team in the Group of 5, you're probably gonna go to a New Year's Six bowl game. You might even go to the playoffs. But I don't know if I bet on that for Air Force. But I have them 12-1, winning the conference, and I have San Diego State falling to 10-3. Football guy Josh George, please like and subscribe.